fresh after my divorce, it's like death. Like you feel like somebody died. I'll tell you, this is very personal. We parted ways. I didn't want to get a divorce. When you start a family or when you get married, nobody gets married to get divorced. I've personally never understood the divorce parties because I don't think there's anything pleasant about it. So when my attorney handed me the papers to sign, I just stared at him and he said, "You look like you don't want this." And I said, "I don't." "So then why are you doing this?" And I said, "Because I have to." I've always been the type to manifest since I was a child. I knew if I wanted something, I was going to get it. Even things, when you're talking about money, you'll never hear me say, "We're too broke, we can't afford it." That's a huge no-no. It's genuinely putting into the universe that you're broke and you don't have money. You're right, you can't, and nor will you ever be able to afford it because that's what you're telling the universe. Even for the mom out there who's struggling, moms, we're naturally gifted. The same way we input in our children, like you can do anything that you put your mind to, us moms, we forget about ourselves.
Why do women find it difficult to do that, especially after a divorce?
We just naturally dwell. We tend to victimize ourselves a lot. You just have to shift your mindset. The first thing to do when you're a mom, if you are struggling and you're trying to shift that mindset, is just...
How would you describe that darkest moment?
Wow.
For those of you who don't know who Lola is, you're about to have a very nice introduction to a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, a single mother who has gone through so much and still pushed through. See, one of the notions that I hate is when a couple gets divorced, the woman is looked at in such a negative way. And even the woman, between her and herself, gets this feeling that there is nothing more to my life. And it kind of puts them in this state that is very dangerous to be in. And Lola explains this state. Lola has gone through it. And Lola has bounced out of it in a way where she's one of the most successful women entrepreneurs that I have personally met. And that doesn't happen by mistake. That needs a very healthy mindset, a good perspective on life. And this is what you'll see here. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. Like this episode. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. And with that being said, let's get the show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى
طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب
مدينة باريس العربية.
Lola, welcome to Not From Here.
Thank you, Jafar. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. The way we start this off usually is self-introduction on your part. So I know you're a very successful businesswoman and you've built an empire, I like to say. And in more ways than like it's typical, like you built culture and a business that we're going to talk about all that. But what I'm interested in is when you go back home at night, when you're done from work, you put your kids to sleep. When you look in the mirror, who is that person?
Okay. So when I look in the mirror, every night and every morning, I look at myself and I know I'm not a basic person. Okay, I know there's nothing basic about me, and I actually say that to myself in the mirror. Between the hours of 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., I've done more than your average person on a daily basis. So when I look at myself in the mirror, I see more than just, a woman who's a mother, a daughter, a sister, the title lady, someone who's strong and resilient. I consider myself to be very confident. So there's so much that I see. But the most important thing to me is that I'm not basic. I always aspire to achieve anything that I could possibly want or desire.
Why is it important to talk to ourselves the way that you do?
It's so important. I'm a big believer in words that you put into the universe. So even when I'm speaking with my children, if they say, "Mom, I can't," "Mama, I can't do," no, we don't say I can't. That's big for me. We don't use certain words. That I just believe that when you put things into the universe, it comes back to you. So talking to yourself and giving yourself those words of encouragement or those positive vibes are extremely important. It's honestly something that I do on a daily, subconsciously at this point. It's not like it's part of my, I have to do it and check it off when I do it. It's just natural for me at this point. It's so natural. I do it with everything that I do. I text myself Is that weird? It sounds weird, right? I text myself. I love journaling. I even write notes in my own phone if I don't have access to my journal. And I love writing. So I'm constantly talking to myself in different ways, not just in the mirror, throughout the entire day, to be honest.
Where did you learn how to do that?
Honestly, I can't honestly answer that because I've always been like this my entire life. I've spoken to myself even through the form, like I said, journalism, whether it's expressing my feelings or, trying to calm my nerves. People, it's been going around online that people talk to ChatGPT and they'll have like a full therapy session with ChatGPT. I actually do that with myself. It's just a form of expressing how you're feeling. And for whatever reason, it makes me feel so much better, whether it's positive or negative in the moment. I've just always been like that.
The trendy term for it is manifestation.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've been doing it way before we started
have.
talking about it at like online and stuff.
I have. I've always been the type to manifest since I was a child. I've always been that type where I knew if I wanted something, I was going to get it. I didn't know how, but I knew I would always get it. If I have my eye on the prize, I'm going to get it.
There's a neuroscientist that I saw her speaking about manifestation in scientific terms. And she actually said that if you're able to visualize something for yourself so clearly that the world, and she's very accomplished. So in her words, like, this is fact. If you visualize something so hard for yourself, the world would have to meet you where your imagination is or where your visualization is. So if you wrote all those things down for yourself, the world, and you believe it, and from what you're saying, you're writing these things, you believe these things, they will come true. The world has to meet your visualization.
Only if you can feel it.
Mm.
Only if you can feel it. And the reason why I emphasize on that so much is because, for example, when I was in law school, I was pregnant with my first, Melina. And I remember when I had her, I'd given birth to her, I was going through a lot at home that year. And I struggled. It wasn't easy for me. It was very difficult. I almost failed out of law school. It was really bad. And I remember in the middle of my last exam there, I knew I had to get a B or higher on this exam. And if I didn't, the last 3 years of my life in law school were wasted. And nobody knows this, by the way, not my parents, nobody. So I went into the bathroom. I took a bathroom break. I went to the bathroom and I cried in the middle of my exam. And I looked at myself and I said, this is the last chance you have. Don't ruin it. Do not ruin it. Clear your mind, go in there and just finish. And it's over, it's done. And I did exactly that. And I would feel in that moment, I imagined myself graduating from law school with Melina being 1 at the time. I imagined and I felt myself walking at my graduation ceremony and looking over and looking at my child. I felt it before it actually happened. And I genuinely believe that's why I was able to go back in there, finish the exam, passed it, and graduated. It was so important to me in that moment. And once I stopped crying, I was very emotional, looked in the mirror, talked to myself, shut my eyes, took a deep breath, and I imagined what it would be like. I felt so much better. And I went in there and I just did what I had to do.
Wow.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Someone would listen to that and be like, that's imaginary. Like, these are just things that people say to sound cool. I really believe in what you said. I really believe that when you put that energy out to the universe, when that belief, you're able to feel like the results before they even happen, I think they always will happen. But if someone doesn't believe in this type of things, what do you tell someone like that? Like a mom that is going through the same thing that you're going through, for example. And she's hearing Lola say, look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself and believe it, which is what you said. Believe that it can happen. How does someone learn how to do that? Like, I'm thinking out loud with you. I don't know.
Okay, so my entire life, alhamdulillah, I consider myself to be a naturally happy person, right? So my entire life, I've been just a naturally happy person, and I have friends, and I know people who struggle with that internally, and they do. It is easier for the person who's naturally happy to be able to shift their mindset much quicker. Definitely is. But if you really, really, really want something, you can make it happen. So even if for the mom out there who's struggling, are you referring to a single mom or?
Yeah, any
just
mom.
any mom? Yeah, being a mom is tough. It's a job within itself. It's extremely difficult.
You know both sides of that coin.
Definitely I do. And so being a mom and having that struggle, you as a mom, you know when to turn on and turn off. No matter what, whether you're a homemaker or whether you have a 9 to 5 or whether you're a business owner, moms, we're naturally gifted, right? We have that gift from Allah. So we know when to turn on and turn off. And it's the same thing where we're so concerned with taking care of our loved ones and our children that we forget to take care of ourselves. And I actually wanted to touch on that because, you know, you look at my generation and these kids that are up and coming and they're graduating and they're going to Ivy Leagues, they're getting into Ann Arbor. And who do we give credit to? We're going to give credit to the moms, right, who have done such a fantastic job raising these young students, these young kids. But the same way we input in our children, like you can do anything that you put your mind to, us moms, we forget about ourselves, right? We can too. You as a mom, you can do anything that you put your heart to as well, whether that's going back to school, getting a degree, or whether that's starting your own business. You just have to shift your mindset. The same way we train our children to shift their mindset is the same way we have to shift ours as well. And as moms, because mothers are naturally selfless, we're constantly pushing our children and forgetting about ourselves. So I know a lot of moms that struggle internally because they're so genuinely passionate about pushing their children that they forget about themselves. So the first thing to do when you're a mom, if you are struggling and you're trying to shift that mindset, is just focus on yourself. I would suggest journaling, definitely. It's so important. And my method of journaling is a little bit different because sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit down, I will journal how I'm feeling, but I journal in the future as well. So I've actually journaled before I graduated from law school. Like I was a 3L. That was my third year of law school. I graduated today. It was the greatest feeling in the world. Melina was sitting in the crowd. I was such a proud mom, and I was so happy that Melina was there to watch me walk. And that was my way of manifesting my future and journaling what I wanted, how I envisioned my future. That's what I wanted for me. So as moms, I highly recommend that when you drop off your kids at school and you have those few minutes to yourself, before you clean, before you cook, before you do anything, maybe after you go to the gym, whatever it is that's part of your morning routine, throw in there some journaling.
You journal the future major events.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
I've been doing that for so long, even before, I've been told to do it, even before social media blew up the way that it did.
I think that's the first time I hear that.
Really?
Yeah, and I think I want to try it.
It's really cool, actually. It's even cooler when you go back to your old journal entries and you see what you've journaled and you're like, that did happen. I forgot. I actually manifested that. I feel like such a nerd.
No, I mean, look, I can relate to you. I have bad memory, but I have like these vague memories of when I used to live in Lebanon, and I used to journal about, not this because obviously I didn't know I wanted to do this, but I always said that I wanted to be the best at whatever the future Jafar decides on doing. And I just remember, right, I don't even think I've said this before, to be honest with you, but I used to write on just random paper at home that he's going to be the best. He's going to be the best. So I always journaled referring to future Jafar, but I never journaled as future Jafar.
Yeah.
which is so cool.
And there's keywords that you use. You don't say when this happens, or I'm sorry, I take that back. You don't say if this happens, you say when this happens. So never say if. So when my daughter, she just tried out for, the varsity dance team in school. And I remember her saying, if I make it, when you make it, those are little keywords. Even things when you're talking about money, you'll never hear me say, we're too broke. We can't afford. That's a huge no. We don't talk like that. I've never in my life ever used such language. Never. Because it's genuinely putting into the universe that you're broke and you don't have money. If I say, I can't afford this, no, you're right. You can't. And nor will you ever be able to afford it, because that's what you're telling the universe. Versus saying, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. I will have that one day. That will be mine. It's things like that. You're not saying you can't afford it right now. You're saying, I'm going to have that one day. It doesn't mean that you can't afford it. It just means you are just going to get it one day in the near future.
What does that do to you? Like, I realize that when I do these, let's say, manifestation techniques, I usually get up feeling like a little fire in me. Like, I feel like this is going to happen. It's like when you get maybe like a wire to your bank account and the money's pending for like the 1 to 2 days.
Yeah.
Do you know the money's coming? Like it's maybe on your bank account it's like in like light gray, and it's like it's coming, but like it's pending. I go out with that feeling that this is going to happen. I know it's going to happen. But I think that I'm trying to think of a formula that would work. But even if you manifested and you didn't put in that hard work, your manifestation wouldn't have come to life.
It will. You can't overthink it. It just happens. You just have to let it naturally happen. When you start to overthink things in anything that you do in life, it becomes excessive and it becomes stressful, and you really want something. But by the way, this is so much easier said than done. And let's talk about the students that have been trying to get into grad school, that have been trying to get into medical school, law school, dental school, right? Or into like the top PA programs. They struggle, and they're sitting there and they're antsy and they're waiting to get that acceptance letter. That's a struggle. Like, for me to sit there and tell them, oh, just be patient and don't overthink it. That's so much easier said than done, right? So, like, I knew somebody who was waiting to get into a good program, a grad school program, and I remember telling her, it sounds so crazy, but just journal as if you already got in. Make sure that you manifest it. Like, when you get in, this is what's going to happen. Allah doesn't make mistakes. And somebody said that to me yesterday. And that is so true. Allah does not make mistakes. So whatever is meant to happen for you will happen. If it's something good for you, it's going to happen. Oof. You just have to stay on that mindset.
Even the money mindset, you weren't
Absolutely.
You weren't taught that either.
No.
Our parents have scarcity.
No, I definitely was not taught that. My mom goes crazy over my spending. Even still, my mom goes crazy. So I'll tell you, this is very personal. Okay, so growing up, I didn't come from, my dad was an engineer at GM. He did okay, there's 5 of us, so we weren't crazy rich. Alhamdulillah, I lived a decent life. I wasn't poor, but I didn't have what I have today. And my mom is big on credit and having good credit and making sure that, she taught us how to build our credit at a very young age. I had my first credit card at 16. I was very young. So by 18, I filed for bankruptcy. I was a disaster. And my parents didn't even know, by the way, I had to do it. And they almost killed me. Obviously, they didn't.
Because you were just spending.
Yes. But I've always had that mindset. It's just going to come. And the reason why I share that with you is because it did. It always just comes. But not because I'm sitting on the couch. Somehow I'm going to work for it. I'm going to make it. It's going to happen. I've just always had that positive mindset. And I knew that even with, even with me filing in that time, I was really young and stupid. It was a horrible mistake I made. But alhamdulillah, I came out of that. I've come a very long way. So now I'm at a different place in my life. But even coming out of that, I've always been that type where, you just have to live in abundance. That's what it is. It's living in abundance. It's not having that scarcity mindset. I mean, even when I was 16, 17, 18, I was just hey, it's going to come. We're good. That's just how I've always been.
I wonder, it's something with this new generation that's coming, that our parents always like to save more.
Right.
We like to make more, if that makes sense. Khalil Dabeja said this on the podcast when he was on. He was like, our parents just wanted to save, and rightfully so. Like, they were in like the survival mode.
That's all they knew.
But with us, we want to make more. We like making more is easier than saving more. It's easier to make $10,000 than to save $10,000.
For sure. The key there, and I've learned this later in life, make more, invest more. So investing more is key. Figuring out what works best for you is key, in my opinion. This is what I've learned much, much later in life when it comes to making more money. You have to also invest more.
Lola, when you said you had your first when you were still in law school.
Yeah, I did.
So you were married, already moved out of your parents' house, still in school.
I had Melina when I was in law school. By the time I graduated, she was 1. We were living at my parents' house. Our house had caught on fire, and we were looking to move. And we actually, at the time, could not even get approved for a mortgage. And we had to rent a house for a little while until we were able to finally buy it. And then, alhamdulillah, once we both got on our feet and we were able to, make ends meet and save a little bit, we were able to buy the house that we were renting. We lived in that for a couple of years. And then once we were able to sell it for a little bit more than what we bought it, we had officially moved. And we started a life in our new home. And we lived in our new home together for, I want to say, almost 2 years. We had planned to, I really, really wanted another baby. Melina was the only one. We had planned to have Celine. And eventually, when Allah had blessed me with a pregnancy, it was February of 2017. I found out. And she was born in November of that year. And Wissam and I, at that point, we had our differences, and we were drastically growing apart. We really were. And so we both knew that, our marriage was eventually coming to an end.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we had struggled for a while before that, it's just, we were just growing apart. And so when you're with somebody and, you're growing apart, it's very hard to maintain a healthy home, right? Especially if you're trying to build a family. So we parted ways, and Celine was 4 weeks old when I filed, and I didn't want to get a divorce. And in hindsight, when you start a family or when you get married, nobody gets married to get divorced. And the other day, I had a friend tell me that, excuse me.
Of course.
The other day, I had a friend tell me, these days, if you can make your marriage work, it's by luck. And alhamdulillah, she has such a beautiful marriage and a beautiful, beautiful family. And I said to her, really? And she said, yes. To make a marriage work these days, it's hard. It's by luck. And it's stuck on me ever since. And so
Do you agree with that?
I've been thinking about what she said to me for days. And yes, I do. And I'm going to tell you why. Let me just finish with my attorney. So when my attorney handed me the papers to sign, I looked at him and I went to go sign them. And I just stared at him and he said, "You look like you don't want this." And I said, "I don't." And he said, "So then why are you doing this?" And I said, "Because I have to." And I knew I had to. And this goes back to my journaling. I was in my bedroom and I was scrummaging through some stuff in my drawer and I found an old journal. And it was almost to the day of January. It was January of 2013, and this is now in January of 2018. It was almost the day. And remember earlier how I mentioned that I journal how I'm feeling at times? I had journaled how I was feeling, and it was the same exact way I was still feeling in January of 2018. And it was like that was a sign for me to let go.
The journal was about your marriage and the one in 2013?
Yes.
Okay.
It was about how sad and unhappy I was. And because I'm a naturally happy person, I'm really good at hiding, like what I'm going through at home. I'm very good at hiding that. But I didn't even realize how unhappy I was 5 years before that. And then in that moment, it had hit me like, wow, I'm still in the same position. There's no growth. And when I realized there was no growth, I realized I needed to let go. And so I knew I needed to let go for me, for him, for the sake of my girls. It was important for me to let go because I needed to find my happiness. And I think the majority of people who are in a very similar situation tend to think that their unhappiness will come afterwards. And that's not ever the case, to be honest. Because if you're a believer in Allah, and the door is just open, and I promise you, you will thrive. And it's not the end of the world. It was just a chapter in my life, a beautiful chapter, by the way. I had a beautiful marriage. I was married for almost 12 years. I have the most amazing girls from it. I have an amazing relationship with my ex-husband. Don't get me wrong. It's not always, fairies and unicorns and rainbows. No, we have our differences, but for the most part, we do a really good job at co-parenting. I think the biggest blessing is that him and I know that we would never use our children as bait. My situation or his situation, or my problem or his problem with him and I is between him and I. We've never, ever involved the children. We've never made the children feel like, they were in the middle. I will share, though. Melina was 6 years old when I filed for divorce. So I want to say she was about maybe 7 years old. I was picking her up from her dad's house. Now, fresh after my divorce, it's like death. Like you feel like somebody died, and it's not easy. And so,
wow,
divorce is like
interesting
death.
Description.
It feels just like death. I mean, you've lived with somebody for how many years, and then all of a sudden they're no longer part of your life. And the only reason why they're part of your life is if you have kids. So even whether you want it or don't want it, there are some people that can't wait to get divorced because they're in such a bad situation, and I understand that. But even in those moments, it's still very, very difficult. Very. I've personally never understood the divorce parties because I don't think there's anything pleasant about it. Even if it's an unhappy situation, I understand. But again, I'll go back to nobody gets married to get divorced. I remember my wedding day, I was the happiest bride in the world, And so I would have never imagined I would ever be in that position, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I've accepted that. I had things didn't work out for us, but we have beautiful memories. I have the two most amazing little girls in the world, and Allah has blessed me tremendously. And I think because of my outlook, because I'm not this scorned, bitter, quote unquote divorcee, I have, alhamdulillah, I've been able to live a good life, but that all comes with mindset. I think it's very sad when I see couples that have to use the app I don't know if you know about this app where if they don't get along, they can't text each other. They have to use an app through the county to message each other regarding the children. I think that's very sad because that takes a toll on the children later. And my ex-husband now, by the way, he's getting married, and my little girls love his fiance. And I'm going to take credit for that. I'm going to tell you why. Because I show my girls nothing more than love, nothing less than love. They know nothing else other than to love those that they meet and those that are pleasant with them. And so if I had a different approach with my daughters, if they saw a different side, they would be the same way. So if my daughters meet, their future father's soon-to-be wife, fiance, they're going to give that respect because that's exactly how I am. So I'm proud to take credit for that. I'm so proud of the wonderful, loving little girls that they are. And I think that having them in a home that's healthy is what made them that way. And even one time, Melina had said to me, I picked her up from her dad's house. So she was maybe 7 years old. And I was asking questions. And I didn't realize I was asking so many questions.
Asking her questions.
Yeah, like, oh, who's at Bob's house this weekend? And, oh, who'd you see? And this was when I first, like maybe a year and a half into my divorce. And who was there? And she said, Mom, and she just started crying. I said, oh, what's wrong? And she said, you just keep involving me. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That will never happen again. And that never happened again. I actually called Wissam and I said to him, hey, this just happened. So please, I don't know if you ask questions. I'm not doing this ever again. And we talked about it. And I felt like it was very healthy, but we do a really good job at co-parenting. We get along really well. If he gets them on the weekends and he has a job, he'll call me. He'll say, hey, instead of me getting a sitter, are you free? Yeah, please bring the kids home. Let them stay with me. So instead of Friday, 5 p.m. to Sunday, 7 p.m., we don't do that. And alhamdulillah, we're able to have that relationship. I understand not everybody can, but I genuinely believe that when you're able to get to that point of having a civilized relationship, it brings you so much peace and it makes the home of your children so much happier and so much more peaceful. And once you get to a certain point in your life, that's all you want. It's just peace and happiness, right?
Fall is here, and honestly, there's not a better place to be at than Detroit Perk. The atmosphere is cozy, whether you want to hang out with your friends, work a little bit, or just study. The atmosphere is just so cozy. It's the type of spot where you pull up to with your laptop to work, or to hang out with your friends, or to study. And now all their fall specials are available. All the warm seasonal drinks that hit perfectly this time of the year. The coffee always tastes better than you want it to, and you always end up staying there more than you planned. Let's be honest, mortgages can feel scary, and most people don't know the ins and outs of how they work. And it's easy to feel lost in the process. That's why who you work with really matters. At Mortgage Connections, the team treats you like a friend, breaking things down in plain language, walking you through every step, and making sure you know exactly what you're walking into. Because buying a home shouldn't feel intimidating. It should feel exciting. And that's exactly the difference with Mortgage Connections. I have all the information on how to contact Mortgage Connections and start your process in the description of this episode. And now, back to the show. Lola, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When two people are getting divorced, I'm thinking that something happened where the relationship either became toxic or there's just someone hurt the other person, or maybe both of them hurt each other.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get over someone that hurts you in such a way, if that makes sense? Like, let's say it was, and I think at the end of the day, like you said, it feels like death. I think that would happen on both sides as well, because you lost someone and he lost someone. But how do you get over the hurt that the other person caused you? Maybe a lot of people get stuck in that hurt, and that's why they don't, and that's why they bait their kids, and that's why they use them as, you know what I mean?
Okay. So first of all, I think it's, if you chose somebody to mother or father your child once upon a time, how can that love turn into hate one day? To the point where you hate them so much, you can't even talk to them. You go years hating them. At that point, it becomes ego. That's just my opinion. I don't believe you could hate somebody to that extreme. It just becomes your ego, especially if that once upon a time you chose that person to mother or father your children. It's ego. And secondly, if somebody does something, they're hurting themselves. It's never to hurt you. I've never met, for example, a husband that wants to hurt the wife, for example. That's a problem that they're struggling with internally. So I think the first thing anybody should do in that situation is not take it so personal and understand. And again, this is easier said than done, because a lot of people will take what's happened in their marriage or their relationship and say, oh, look what this person did to me. Look what this person did to my family. Or no, look what this person did to themselves, for example, regardless of what it is. And in my situation, it was both of us. We were both just growing apart, So for me, it was a different situation. But again, you have to be at that point in your life where you understand that it's not about you and I anymore. This relationship ended. We had our differences. It's over. There's no point in dwelling on the past. At this point, we need to focus on them, those two little girls. Whatever happened between you and I, happened between you and I. And then when you find it within yourself that you can accept what the other person did, regardless of what it is, you not only have peace within, but once you forgive them genuinely, you have so much peace and happiness. And you forgive them for you, not for anybody else, but just for yourself.
I think you're right, and in the way you went about it, but I just think that there's so much divorce that happens, and there's so many stories that you hear nowadays that you're like, okay, that person actually hurt me. So I think a lot of people will say like, no, I got cheated on, or no, he talked to my parents this way. Of course he wanted to. Your outlook is very positive. Yeah. And it kind of removes you / your family from the situation.
Absolutely.
It's like, this is not my problem.
It's not.
Yeah.
You have to realize that. It takes a while to get there, Jafar. I went through some rough patches when I first got divorced. I mean, there was a night that was one of the worst nights of my life, but it turned into a blessing. It turned into a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise, because that was the night that I knew this chapter needs to be closed. Khalas. I'm in the process of divorce. I need to accept it, because a part of me always had hope. I did. I always had hope that maybe we might work it out. Maybe it'll happen, but once you get to that point of acceptance, it's so much easier to let go. You just have to accept it first.
Did you want to hang on for yourself or for your kids?
For my children, always.
Okay. So do you think it would have played out differently if there wasn't children?
If there wasn't children, we probably would have been divorced way before that.
Okay.
Way before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the children kind of give a lifeline.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you what Melina said to me as well. One time we were driving on Evergreen in front of U of M, and I was telling her, oh, this is where I went to college. And your Baba used to meet me here at the Mardigian Library, and we would study. And she was like, Mom, you know what I realized about you? You're so much happier ever since you and Baba got divorced. And she said, I'm sad that you're not together anymore, but I just love seeing you so happy. You're just always laughing. All you do is dance. You're always happy. And I love that. And I said, oh, wow. And I love that she was able to observe that, because her making that observation on her own was worth everything to me in that moment.
At such a young age too.
Absolutely. And it made her so much wiser. And I genuinely believe in my heart, because of, her watching me go through that transition. I hope and pray, we all hope and pray for our kids, that she'll eventually get to a point to where she knows what she wants in her life. Inshallah. So,
how would you describe that darkest moment?
Oh, wow.
Take me through your brain.
So, first of all, I completely blacked out. I just, zero thoughts. So, my emotional intelligence level was probably at a -10 that day. Okay, or that night. It was horrible. I was not thinking properly. I was not thinking about my future. all I was thinking was a revenge. And again, that was my ego. That was all ego. It wasn't, it was emotional. I was still going through my divorce, and it was just all ego. So I later on realized that. I'm talking weeks after that incident, because I then realized that there's so much more to life than this. And again, my marriage, I had a beautiful marriage, alhamdulillah, for a number of years. But once it was time to close that chapter and I was accepting of it, I finally closed it and I was able to move on. And I think that's key to any woman going through this. You have to know when to close the chapter and accept it and just move on. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it took me a long time to get to that point of, good co-parenting. And again, it's not always
Good.
It's not. It's not. It's not always going to be unicorns and fairies and rainbows and like, oh, look at them, they're so great at co-parent. It's not. The reality is it's not, and it won't ever be perfect. But you have to do it for the children. If you want to really, if you stayed in a marriage for as long as you did for the children, then you have to figure out how to make co-parenting work for the children. Doesn't mean you have to go to Disney World together as a new family, like, the Brady Bunch. No, but you have to figure out how to make it work for the sake of your children. Otherwise, your children, they'll be so traumatized. And another thing I wanted to tell you, Jafet, is that I'm trying to raise my daughters to where they are, inshallah, independent, and they can hold their own fort in the event that they have to. But I still try to teach them that it's okay to make room for a man to step into your life one day and let a man be a man. It's okay for you to be able to, be a good woman or be a good wife to your future husband, inshallah. And it's hard for me to paint that picture for them being in the situation that we're in. It really is. But especially now that Melina's a little bit older, she's 14 now, so I struggle with it a little bit, but I'm constantly reminding her, it's okay. One day, inshallah, you're going to have, somebody it's okay to let a man take care of you. It's okay. Sure, I want my daughters to thrive in whatever it is that they decide to do. Absolutely. But I also think it's nice for a woman to have her career, and if she wants to be taken care of by a man, that's okay. Let her be a homemaker. And if she doesn't, that's okay too. So I want my daughters, obviously, to be happy with whatever it is that they decide to do. And I would love for them to choose something that makes them happy, but I'd also love for them to welcome somebody good into their life that they are happy with, that they can make room for and be a good woman to eventually. And the reason why I say that is because there's this stigma against, many women, especially divorcees, who, feminists, and, well, all men are the same. And no, all men are kind of the same. In so many different ways they are, but at the same time, it's okay for a woman to be her most feminine self for her man. And I try to teach my daughters that every day, because I'm not there giving them an example of what that means, but I do the best that I can do.
Maybe this is one of the rare times in your life that you can't lead by example with them.
It's
right?
hard to lead, definitely, because I don't have, anybody to that lives with us that I can show them this is how you treat somebody. But my daughters, I try to make sure that they're, graceful and feminine, and I try to teach them that. So it's nice.
Lola, there's this point I feel like where you're going through so much and you're upset and you're going through the feelings that Lola personally is going through them. And then there's the alertness of the mother of, I want to protect my girls as well, while you're going through that process. How do you kind of shut this one off, turn this one on? Or like, how do you balance that?
That's a very good question. It's extremely difficult. I think for me, being a businesswoman, is what has helped me learn how to shut those emotions off and turn them back on, because you kind of have to do that with work, but it's almost impossible when you're a business owner. It's almost impossible to shut anything off, you know, even when you travel, it's nearly impossible. So you have to just, it's balancing your time. It's balancing your time. It's prioritizing. It's giving yourself, like, I know this is odd, but I get one day a month at work where I get to cry because I'm having a rough day at work. So it's usually the end of the month. So in my industry, the end of the month is insane. And there's one day that I get at the end of the month where I just cry it out. And then that's it. It's fine. Everything's good. Everything's good. I know it sounds so weird, but it's true. So
is that your way of like you're allowing yourself to be emotional even at work?
Yeah, well, I'm usually emotional at that time because of work, not because of anything else. It's just end of the month gets crazy for us. We get overwhelmingly busy. People get a little bit frustrated. They start to get impatient, become impatient. They need things now. Things just happen. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's my moment. So I've become much better, considering that now, alhamdulillah, I've been in the business for over 10 years. I've been much better at learning how to turn on and off, but it's not always that easy.
Yeah.
And my girls know, oh, right now is work time. Even if I'm at home and with my kids and they know the office is open, Celine always makes comments to me, "You're on your phone again." I'm like, shh, it's work time right now. Don't talk to me. And, you know, I have to answer a call or respond to an email. So it does get overwhelming.
Does our culture help at all when it came through that process, or did it make it worse for you?
Our culture?
Yeah. Because I think it tends to I don't know, it puts women in this position where she's always the one in the wrong, I feel like.
That's true.
She's shunned in a way.
So actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to relate that to my business when I first opened.
Go for it.
Because when I first opened up my business, it was in 2014. It was in a 300 square foot office in downtown Detroit in the Ford building. And my rent was $300 a month. And I was really afraid to eventually move to Dearborn. But I moved to Dearborn 6 months later because that's where my clientele was. But I would go into offices begging for businesses. I would walk into real estate agents' offices. I would walk into mortgage companies and say, "Please, just give me a chance. I'm going to be the best at this. Just give me a chance. Give me an order, please."
Can you explain what you do for people that don't know?
Sure.
Already?
So I'm the title lady. I handle real estate transactions. So if you're selling your home and to somebody and the buyer's going through a mortgage company, for example, the bank, the mortgage company would send me the money. I make sure that the taxes and the liens are all paid off, and then I would give the seller their money minus all the costs of the transaction. So I make sure the title is free and clear of any liens and that the funds are dispersed appropriately, right? But I had a passion for what I did because I love meeting people. And just like you, I love hearing people's stories. So I'm a relationship type of person. Like, I value my relationships with so many people, especially in our community. So culture was a big thing for me in that regard. And I think that's what separated me from the rest at the time, because I'm big on culture. I'm big on community. And so when I would go in there begging these agents and loan officers for business, a lot of them doubted me, Jafar, and it was so disappointing. It was so disappointing. I felt because we're from the same culture, they would be more receptive. And, oh, was I wrong? Was I ever wrong? But alhamdulillah, I was still so grateful for this community. And I tried everything. I would do mixers. I would have get-togethers. At the time, it was Lava Lounge in Dearborn Heights. It was way back in the day, like 2014. I would have mixers and I would invite people. And all these agents would show up and I would be so excited, like, okay, great. Now they're going to send me business, and I wouldn't see one order. And so, alhamdulillah, eventually, you know, my February, that was the first month I was ever open. One order turned into 5, turned into 6, turned into 20, and then 30. And then after that, my business started growing eventually because word got around that I actually was really good at what I do. And I actually am the best at what I do. And I know that sounds arrogant, but it's not necessarily. I'm not meaning to sound arrogant. I'm genuinely very passionate about what I do for a living. I love handling my closings, and people will tell me all the time, you own the company, why are you still doing closings? Because I love what I do. I love my career. I'm so grateful and grateful for this opportunity. So it really is something that I love doing, and being able to, mix in like our culture with it is key. Because in the beginning, I expected so much more.
It's
because
like you're
of the
walking in
culture.
with confidence, but they're
Definitely.
like, no, you're not good enough. And deep down, no, I am good enough. Like, I just need a shot.
Yeah, no, I'm actually the best.
Yeah.
So I had brokerages that would get really, really upset that I was in the business. I had one brokerage whose admin actually is still there. And she texted one of my team members, who actually is still with me to this date, and said, why do you work for her? She is just like the rest of them and is going to end up in jail one day. I saw that message and I was so upset over it. I called the broker and I let him know what happened. And I said, this is unacceptable. I don't know if she's meaning it because I'm of Arab American descent, but it's unacceptable, and I will not tolerate anybody messaging any of my team members talking like that about me. He was so kind and so receptive, and he said, I am so sorry. I will handle this. And I said, thank you very much. And since then, I've always respected him, and he's always respected me. But that admin, she never believed in me, and I love that she never believed in me, because I didn't need anybody to believe in me. I believed in myself.
It doesn't seem like you're that type of person that needs that validation.
No, I really don't. Alhamdulillah, I really don't, because I have always been that type of person. I never knew how I was going to get there. I never knew how I was going to get it, but I knew I would get there. I knew I would get it. I didn't know when, but I knew it would come.
Sometimes you don't need to know how. You just need to know where you're going.
Yeah.
You have to believe that you are going to get there.
Yeah, but even when you're on your way there, just enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. And I feel like I genuinely did. I feel like I genuinely enjoyed the ride. Even my my mishaps, even going through my divorce, it was rough. I mean, when I first, I wasn't going to work at all. When I first filed, I was a mess. Then one day I went into work and I was in my office, and my sister slams open my office door, and she's like, Lola, that's enough. I said, what? She's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but like, you have a business to run. So you're either going to get up and do these closings or you're not, because you're losing a lot of money right now. I was like, okay. So it didn't motivate me, but she was right. In every aspect, she was right. And so eventually what I did is I shifted my mindset, and I started focusing on just myself and my business. And the best piece of advice I ever got during my big transition was, right now you need to focus on two things. And he said to me, I know you're going through a lot right now. I understand. But you need to snap out of it, and you need to focus on two things: being the title lady and being a mom. And when you focus on those things, I promise you, everything's just going to fall into place for you. And that's exactly what I did, and magic happened. And I feel that when you start to focus on yourself as a person, you shift that focus, you focus on just yourself and your family or your children, everything falls into place the way it's meant to fall.
Why do women find it difficult to do that, especially after a divorce?
Dwelling. Women, we just naturally dwell. We tend to think of bad things that have happened to us. We tend to victimize ourselves a lot. It's very easy to victimize yourself. It's so easy to victimize yourself. So you have to just be more self-aware. Self-awareness is so important. And I feel like as mothers, sometimes we're so caught up with, raising the family and making sure everything's good at home that we lose our own self-awareness. And it's so important to see yourself, to be able to see, like, okay, I'm throwing a tantrum right now. I need to stop. Okay, I'm in crazy mode. I need to snap out of that.
It seems like they treat it as a death sentence a lot of the time. Like that life is over here for me.
I think a lot of women feel that way. Especially why they stay in a marriage, because they feel like that's it. What's there to my life after, I get divorced? And I understand that, and that's totally understandable. But I promise you, that's never the case. That's never the case. I think that's why, for me, again, people are going to look at me and say, well, it's so much easier for her. She has her life set up. But I have to give the credit to my mom for that. My mom, from when I was younger, I remember she would be driving me to school, and she would say, a man can get up and leave you one day, but your degree will never, ever leave you. Never. That's the only thing that nobody in this world can take away from you. And it stuck on me. So I felt like I had no choice. I genuinely had no choice. I had to go and finish. And I think she subconsciously prepared me for that, just in case. And I think we all have to be prepared just in case. And I'm not saying that from a negative perspective by any means. I'm saying that from the most realistic perspective possible, because you'll just never know. So why not, just in case?
You know what I like about what you're saying is that you're not really advocating for divorce.
I'm not. Oh, no.
You're not advocating for divorce at all. And you're like, even the sentence that you said, no one gets married to get divorced, and what you teach your daughters, you're not in this position where you're like, yeah, you should get divorced, and the first inconvenience you have to leave. You're more of like, this is life and this could happen.
Never,
If it does happen, you need to bounce back strong.
Absolutely. I would never condone divorce. It bothers me so much when I hear that families are, when I hear two people are splitting, it takes a big toll on the family. I do not in any way condone divorce by any means. And I have friends who have tried for several years to try and make their marriages work, and it just didn't. And they come to me, and I'll always guide them and help them in any way I can. But the first thing I always say is, are you sure this is what you want? Do you picture yourself without this person? Are you okay? And even Jafar, when I filed for divorce, I wasn't ready. I didn't want a divorce. I genuinely did not want a divorce. I wanted my family to be together. I wanted that family unit. But I saw how beautiful life was for me. Doesn't mean it's like that for everybody. I saw how beautiful life was for me after my divorce. And my daughter saw how much more beautiful life was for me. And that was enough for me to feel like I made the right decision. And don't get me wrong, there are several moments in my life where I sit and I wonder, did I even make the right decision? Was I making the right decision? Was I being selfish at the time because I have children? I don't know. But when I look at the big picture overall, I believe I did what was best for me. And again, Jaffa, that goes back to selfless moms. They think that they're doing things that are more beneficial for their children, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, you have to take care of you first, because if you don't take care of you first, you can't take care of your family or
No one's
your
going to
children.
take care of you.
Nobody. And I think it's so important to take care of you first. I genuinely do.
Look, running a business isn't easy. You've got customers to take care of, bills to pay, and a million things that are on your plate. The last thing you need is getting dragged into a legal fight. But that's exactly why people call Amir Maklid. He knows how to handle business disputes, contracts gone bad, or partners not keeping their word. Amir's been in the courtroom for over 20 years, and he knows how to protect what you've worked so hard to build. If your business is on the line, you want Hal Maklid in your corner. I have all the information on how to contact Hal Maklid in the description of this episode. Most people feel like another number when it comes to insurance. Stuck on hold forever, buried under confusing policies, and left with no follow-ups. But that's not how it should be. At Nasser Insurance Agency, you get what you actually deserve. Local support that picks up the phone, clear guidance that makes sense for your needs, and real agents that don't just promise to follow up, that actually do. Don't settle for just being a policy number. Get the insurance experience that you deserve with Nasser Insurance Agency. All that information to get started on your new insurance journey is in the description of this episode. And now back to the show. Something that you did that was very interesting, which is woman empowerment. Your business is all women.
Yeah,
And
it is.
when I first saw that, I'm like, is she doing it on purpose? This is what we're like before we knew each other.
Yeah.
And like, is this just like kind of like a gimmick that you're putting on it? But then when I met you and when we spoke and when I saw your operation, I'm like, no, like she really believes in this.
Yeah.
Like she really believes in this unit of having like an all woman team. And you make it clear that you're an all woman business.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
I think it's important because women tend to understand each other a lot more than if a man worked in the office. So, for example, we're much more, we're not as insensitive if one of the ladies at the office, if her child is sick and can't come in for the day. We're more willing and prone to work and help her out. Like, oh, your child is sick, I got you. Oh, you're not feeling good, I got you. We had one team member of ours who her son went through a lot. It's like a near-death experience type of thing. She had to take off for several months, and my team came together and said, hey, that's okay. We're going to help each other. We're family. We got this. And I feel like that comes from the natural gift that Allah has given us as women, where we have that motherly, nurturing instinct, whether we have children or not, you know, and I think that makes a world of a difference. There's just so much love and very hormonal, by the way. So I don't even think if a man did work there, he could handle it, because there's a lot of bickering that goes on too. So it's a different type of environment. It's we just all understand each other, and I think that's key.
I read something that you said after you hit 10 years in your business, and it was, you always mentioned to your team that anything they set their mind to, they can achieve.
Yeah, I say it to everybody.
But that sounds like a motherly kind of advice. That's something like a healthy parent would say. Like, is that how you look at your team?
Yeah, I do. I think that they can do anything that they set their mind to. It doesn't matter who they are or what they've already accomplished or what they haven't accomplished. I believe that about everybody. You just have to want it. So when I say that, Jafar, it doesn't mean sit on the couch and wait for it to come to you. It means you have to work for it, and it'll come. But you have to work for it. You have to want it. So if you really, really do want something, you have to work for it. Like my sister Dina is one of them. I mean, she's a go-getter. She has her eyes on a prize, and she's going to get it. And I love that about her. You know, so she's a perfect example of that.
What's the most rewarding part of your journey so far?
The most rewarding part.
You're a multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
You have 2 kids. It sounds like you have a fantastic relationship with them.
Alhamdulillah.
You have a beautiful family. What's the most rewarding part in all of this when you sit and when you think about what's the best thing I've done so far?
I think I've met so many different people in my life, so many different people that I've crossed paths with. And I think the most rewarding part of what I do for a living is the people that I've met and the relationships that I have built, because you can't put a price on that. You cannot put a price on relationships. And I value every single relationship I have with every person I've met in the industry. So I really take my relationships to heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, that's the most rewarding part, getting to know so many people in our industry, just being part of this community. Like, sure, every community has its pros and cons. And even me mentioning in the beginning of my business, when I first opened up my business, how I assumed that I was just going to get that business because, you know, we share the same culture, and it was so much more deeper than that. But even being part of this community has made me realize how blessed I am to be part of living here. By the way, I loved Dearborn. I mean, my heart is here. I love Dearborn. So I love being a part of this community. I love working in this community. I love living in this community. I love the relationships that I've built in this community. So the most rewarding thing for me out of everything, I would say, is being part of this community.
I want to ask you questions about journaling. Let's say we were able to go to Lola, young Lola, beginning of her marriage, you know, when she was going through that very rough time.
Oh, okay.
And let's say we can take her journal and and I just handed it to you and I told you, write something that younger Lola should read right now.
Oh. I would say go back to Mama and Baba's and enjoy it there a little bit longer. And I've never said that before. Yeah. I got married when I was 20. I just turned 22. And so I was really young. And I probably would have, I think it's a blessing that my sister still lives there, to be honest. She spent more time at my parents' house with my parents. And even though obviously everybody's parents drive them crazy, especially when you get to a certain age, I would have loved to live there a little bit longer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you would have told younger Lola?
Yeah. Just go back there for a little bit longer, a couple more years. And also, the biggest thing I would have told younger Lola is when you meet somebody, make sure you discuss your future and your values are in alignment with one another. Make sure that you and him value the same things. Make sure you are in alignment with your future. Do you both envision your future together? The couple I was telling you about, my friend that told me a couple days ago, marriage is just by luck.
Yeah, we never got back to that.
Okay, so she was telling me her and her husband used to go, and it's actually so cute because I was telling her that's manifesting. She said we used to go and draw out. I think she said we used to draw out how our garage is gonna be or like what our house is gonna be, and we used to, like when we were dating, she said we were 18, 19, we'd drive to, to Birmingham and look at those houses and say, hey, we're gonna live there. And they knew what they wanted. And I said, oh my God, that's amazing. You guys manifested this, alhamdulillah, this beautiful life. And she started laughing. She's like, I guess, but they really did, Jafar. They manifested their life. They brought to life what they were envisioning. And I told her this, the fact that they discussed, their future and together and their values, what they value, I think that's a key component that's missed with many, many young couples these days. And I feel like if you teach your children to be more self-aware, they'll know on their own by the time they're ready and of age to do that. They'll know. But it's also good to teach it.
Yeah, of course. It's good to make them aware of it. Like, this thing exists. So even if it's like you spark something in your head where they keep on like going back to and referring to.
Definitely.
But tell me why you think a successful marriage is luck.
Well, she said that, but she was right. Because Jafar, you change. When you're 19 years old, 20, 21, 22, 23, every year you change. We're learning, we're growing, we're evolving as human beings. By the time you hit your 30s, your mindset has completely changed, right? So every single year, you're changing, you're evolving as a human being. So if you and your spouse are, neck to neck when you're getting married, and you continue to grow and the other doesn't, or vice versa, right? What happens at that point? You start to go your own separate ways. And
you think that's difficult to detect at an early age? Like, my counter argument to that would be like, I wouldn't want to talk to someone that doesn't think about that they want to be growing and they want to be working on themselves all the time. Like, that's not someone I want to associate with and I want as my life partner. So I feel like I wouldn't even want to get to, that's why I wouldn't consider that luck, because you would have to be aware of that at a younger age to be like, oh, this person doesn't like working on themselves and they're fine where they are. And I want to really go on. I want to kill it. I want to keep going.
Okay, I understand your point. However, times are different. There's social media now, and there's people that will compare to others, and social media could sometimes be the devil and make you feel that this person is getting this from their spouse, for example, and I'm not getting this from my spouse. And and obviously there's people of the opposite sex on social media that are messaging others, and there's so many different factors that go into that. So it really is, honestly, she's right. It is based on luck, because you're either with somebody that's going to get sucked into that or you're not. And I'm not going to disagree with her. I've been thinking about this for days. It is luck.
When you look back at everything that you've gone through, and especially in your business and where you are right now, when you sit down with your parents, what are those conversations like? Like, are they proud of?
I think so. I think
you have such a beautiful relationship with your daughters that I automatically assume that you have a very beautiful relationship with your parents.
Alhamdulillah, I do. My parents are great with me. They help me with pickup from my kids' school. They are very close to me. We travel together, especially my mom. She says I'm her favorite travel buddy. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I do have a great relationship with my parents. So I'll share something that's very personal that I don't really talk about. So when I graduated from law school, I was getting ready to take the bar exam. It was when my house had caught on fire. I was living at my mom's house. Wissam and I were separated at the time. He was staying at his cousin's. It was a disaster. Melina was a baby. And my stuff got stolen out of my car the week of my bar exam. It was disastrous. I was not ready for it. And I knew I wasn't going to pass. And I didn't. I only took it once, by the way. And so my mom, to date, alhamdulillah, I do okay for myself. To date, my mom will say, I just want you to know that my dream before I die is just to see you take the bar exam and pass. And I laugh because I'm like, Mom, I don't need to do it. Maybe one day I will. If I'm ready, I've thought about it. I've considered it. But when I need to, I will. If I need to, when I want to. I don't want it to be forced on me, because my personality type, if you force it on me, don't do that to me.
Why is that important to her?
I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. I don't know why it's so important to her. She just says it's like the completed part of it. She just wants me to complete it fully. And I say, okay. I have my JD. I'm okay. I wouldn't have been able to open up my title agency without my JD. So alhamdulillah, it all worked out.
And if you can take Melina and Celine's journal from now and you write something that they're going to read in 10 years, what would you write today for them? I
actually do. Well, I have this with... So Celine, every single day, I make her lunch because she refuses to eat the school lunch. And I write her a note every single day. Every single day. And it's to the point where if I'm not in town or if my sister's watching them and she makes her lunch, if she doesn't get a note, she gets really upset. So she expects this from me. So I'm constantly sharing words of wisdom with her. Now with Melina, she hasn't wrote back to me in a while. So I'm going to actually talk to her about this. But we have a journal that we share. And I write in it and she writes back to me. And I write in it, and then she'll write back to me. And I do that because so when she's older, inshallah, she'll always have that of her and I. I'll talk about, a dance competition over the weekend and say, I'm so proud of you. You killed it. These are the things that I noticed. You worked so hard. And then she'll come back and write back to me. And we had that going for a long time. It's been a while, so I'm going to remind her of that. But yeah, so for the most part, we already do that.
How cool.
Yeah, with Celine, she's only 7, so I don't expect her to fully journal back to me because her journals are very, minimal. But I do share lots of words of wisdom with her, I think I'm so fixated on being happy all the time that I want to instill that in my children. But for me, it was so natural, and alhamdulillah, my girls too. It's natural for them as well. And I think one of the things I was most proud of at last year's parent-teacher conference was when Celine's teacher said to me, she's just so happy. And that made me so happy because you worry about that as a parent. You
True.
always want your kids to be happy. So for me, I'm constantly reminding them when I drop them off at school, okay, have a blessed day. Make sure you're happy. And is that even a thing? Like, how do you make sure you're happy? Because at the end of the day, happiness is just a feeling, you know? So
Have you recently journaled to future Lola?
yeah.
Would you share what you have in plan for future Lola? What has already happened in her life?
Oh man. I can't share that. It's too personal.
Okay.
But it has happened. And it
Okay.
was magical. Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
By the way, just so you know, sorry to interrupt you. Even on my coffee cups in the morning, I'll write how much I want to make for the year.
Every day? Does
Yeah.
the number change?
Yeah, actually it went up a little bit a few days ago.
It did?
So I'll write. And I usually do journal that the first day of every single year. I write down what my goal is for that year. But what I've been recently doing, especially, is writing on my coffee cup, because I make my own coffee at home. I just write at the top of the lid how much. Then I put a plus sign after it, because without that plus sign, you're limiting yourself.
Right.
So.
Wow. Your take on manifestation might seem to the average listener like, what's she talking about? Like this, like it doesn't sound real.
Actually, my friend told me, please don't talk about manifestation. It's
Really?
so boring. Yeah.
Boring? Wow.
That's what she said, but I don't, it's okay.
I wouldn't consider that boring. I
I
would
don't
consider it
either.
like a blueprint. It's a place to start.
I think it depends on who you are and what you want.
Like I feel like when you're driven in that way, you have so much energy that this is a very good medium at the least to imagine, like, what do you lose if you really have these intense feelings inside of, I want to make it, there's these things that I want to accomplish. If you write that down and just as a note to your future self or your younger self, like I'll tell you this, I had on Hajj Hussein Shrara, he's one of the owners of Wise.
I know him very well.
And before we started having the conversation when he came, he was asking me why I started the podcast, where I wanted to go with it, and I'm very passionate about it. So I'll go on and on why and where I want it to be. And then he told me, write it down and stash it in a drawer, and but write it down and put it somewhere and close. And I told him that I had already done that, but it goes to show how important that is to let out of your system, put it out there. You know, there is nothing to lose. You will only bring in more positivity, if anything.
There's nothing to lose. You just hit the nail on the head. There's nothing to lose when you do that. You only have everything to gain, because when you do that, you are just letting the universe know what it is that you are seeking and what you have your eyes on and what you desire. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually great for you. So I love that. I love that you do that.
Even like some people would like to do like dua and ask God for these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like to do also is I tell God, I want this to happen. I know you're going to give it to me. I don't know how. You get to decide how you want to give it to me. But I know that I want this really, really bad. And if it's good for me, I know that 100% this is going to happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I do the same. I always throw in there, if it's good for me, bring it to me. And if not, somehow show me, give me a sign. Show me that it's not good for me. If it's not good for me. I think that's very important as well. Definitely. Because sometimes some things we want are not good for us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even at one point in my life, I genuinely did want, I struggled to make my marriage work, for example, and it just didn't work for me. And that was okay. That was Allah telling me no. And I'm okay with that.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, you're content, if you're happy with where you are as Lola internally, you know? Because some people will look at the outside and be like, man, Lola made a multi-million-dollar business. She did 2 girls. Like, everything you look at Lola from the outside, you'd be like, she has it figured out. But I wanted to know, Lola internally, is she content with herself?
Alhamdulillah, it's much more than just being content. I don't even like the term content, because when you become content, that means you've accepted whatever it is that you're in and whatever it is that you've wanted, and that's all. For me, there's so much more. So alhamdulillah, I'm very happy with where I am, and there's always more. There's always more for all of us, right? And as long as I'm continuing down that journey and I'm on that path, I'm always going to figure out a way to enjoy my life, and it's a blessing. It's when we wake up every single day and Allah's giving you another day on this earth to spend with your family and your kids and your loved ones. It's always a blessing. That's how I look at life.
What's one thing that we didn't talk about today that you think we should have?
I wanted to talk about the power of giving. I recently read this book. It's called The Goal Giver. It's so incredibly good because it takes the power of giving and it applies it to your business. However, if you read the book and you understand it really well, it's a very easy read. You can apply it to all aspects of your life. And I feel like genuinely one of the reasons why, alhamdulillah, I'm so blessed is because I'm a natural giver. It's one of my greatest blessings. It's extremely rewarding to naturally be a giver. So when I say giving, I don't mean giving in the sense of just money. I mean giving and give your wisdom, give your love. I give so much love, and I feel like that's why it comes back. And even I haven't been to Lebanon in 21 years, and I recently went to Lebanon. This is my first summer in 21 years.
21 years?
21 years, okay. And you want to know what shocked me? So I'm 39, and the last time I was there was I was 18 years old. I was telling my dad, I said, Baba, in Lebanon, I know you're used to it because you come here for so many months a year, but for me, it's a culture shock because they're so generous with their words and their love. For example, walking into, I went to go watch Wa'al Kfouri in the Aris, and they were like, Ahlan wa sahlan, inshallah mtumbustu. After they check to make sure you don't have any weapons on you or anything, they're so welcoming. If you go to an event here, like a comedy show, they check you and like, okay, next. You know, there's so much love. They're so generous. They're so giving. And that's so important. And when you're a giver in any aspect, doesn't mean, again, just money. When you're a giver, it comes back to you tenfold, especially with love. And the more love you give, because love is infinite. There's no specific amount of love you can give. And when you give so much love, you get it back tenfold. And it's such a blessing.
Do you think people definitely associate generosity with money.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll just give to the poor. I'll just give to charity.
Right.
Give. Maybe the idea generosity in terms of giving love is not something that is registered well.
It's you're right. It's not.
How did you discover that?
Honestly, that's very recent for me. I've discovered what it means to be giving in different forms. I want to say within the last couple of years.
Okay.
Probably through reading books, and a very dear friend of mine who's very close to my heart one time said to me, "You just love everybody. You give so much love, and sometimes," and he was right. He said sometimes not everybody deserves that type of love, and he's definitely right. But I feel like because I give so much of that love, I'm generous with my love, it comes back to me tenfold. And that goes with everything that you do. It could be with, speaking to the youth. It could be with mentoring. It could be with sharing your wisdom, sharing your quote unquote secrets. If you're a sales person, sharing your sales tactics. So those types of things, when you give, it comes back to you tenfold. It really does. And it's so important.
That also talks to the abundant mindset that you mentioned at the beginning, the earlier part of the conversation.
Definitely eliminates the scarcity mindset. So I'm so anti the scarcity mindset because it takes away from that. When that helps shift your mindset, by the way. when you give and you're in that giving mindset, it takes away the complete scarcity side of it. That's why The Goal Giver I loved so much, because the book introduces you to a gentleman who has a scarcity mindset. But by the end of the book, his mindset has completely shifted once he follows the 5 laws of giving. But you have to naturally do it. You have to do it without the expectations of getting anything in return.
Okay.
And then everything just comes to you.
That sounds like more of a personality trait, right?
No,
Okay.
it can be. It can be a struggle. It could definitely be an internal struggle.
So is it okay for it to be a struggle for some people to give?
Absolutely. It's actually, even in my opinion, even more meaningful when it's an internal struggle and you've worked on it. That's a part of growth. That's a part of development. That's working on your self-awareness. That's even more meaningful than somebody who already naturally has it.
What's your favorite thing to give?
Oh, my love.
Okay.
My love. I love building relationships. I love giving my blessings because, alhamdulillah, Allah's blessed me. So I feel like there's enough for everybody. There's an infinite amount of blessings and love you can give in this world. And I genuinely love giving my love. So that'd be my favorite thing to give.
It seems like you treat people the way you like to be treated.
That's how I tell my kids. I always tell them, treat people how you want to be treated.
So you give the love that you would want people to give as well.
Yeah.
Without expecting it, is what you're saying.
Definitely. And by the way, I don't always get that. And that's okay, because not everybody's personality is the same.
True.
So just because I give that type of love, it doesn't mean I'm going to get it in return. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea either. And that, again, is okay. So I don't expect it back. But when I do get it back, you'll get 10 times more love from me.
Yeah. The Go Giver is the book?
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
It's honestly one of my favorite books I've ever. Okay, that girl that said the marriage is all luck, she's the one that told me about these 2 girls on social media, and I follow them, and they were the ones that said on their podcasts, their professor from Stanford is the one that recommended that book.
I'm going to read it.
It's so good.
I
actually have a copy for you in my office.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Pun intended. Okay.
Yeah. Lola, this was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jaffa. I
course.
appreciate you.
Of course.
Thank you.